Dr. T.P. Shajikumar.
Oh, before that, I can just say that thank you for inviting him and so.
Okay. Dr. T.P.
Namaskaram, pranams, salutations to all the great speakers. I was really taken to understand different aspects, different panoramic views you described. Just now I thought in the forests in the Vedic India, people gathered around teachers who instructed them the path of liberation, and that was called yoga, or meaning union. I think somewhere in between BC 560 to 480, during that time, someone did the same, and he was called Buddha. We named the process of union probably because Patanjali Muni, the Rishi Patanjali, framed it in a network called Yoga Shastra. If that was not there, probably we would have taken all the lessons from Buddha himself. That's how I look at the practical yoga. One difference could be that samadhi was not what was Buddha's meditation process. It was a yogic practice where beyond the fluctuations of mind, the thoughts are focused to realize oneness of being, which probably we all would have inherited that word called emptiness, which was coined by Buddha. We called it as absolute self, or yoga practice called it as absolute self, but emptiness could have been the best word. But once emptiness comes, we don't know whether we exist to get into our samadhi. So it's one of the highest realization. I was so glad that Ramana Maharshi is understanding who am I, If I am not there, I don't have emptiness to see. If I am not there, I don't have a salvation. If I am not there, I don't have an absolute self. So that is where probably the conflict of thoughts, because interpretation by different yogis would have been different. Therefore, comparison by small people like us, we understand it because we are looking at the bigger elephant from different side. The teaching of Buddhism and yoga of Patanjali, if you want to call it like that, the teachings of Buddha and the yoga of Patanjali or Yoga Sutra, all of them talks only one thing, that is ahimsa. That's what just now mentioned by Yadi. He clearly spelt it. It is non-harming and do all the karma. What is the ultimate goal? Ultimate goal is experience happiness and peace. I think that way there is no difference between Patanjali's Yoga Sutra and the teachings of Buddha. The Buddha's teaching sometimes looked upon the great visions of yoga. That is why the physical yoga, all that was not part of it. It was looking at practical discipline and noble path for liberation, which is maybe the highest of the highest. The Buddha himself was a high yogic man. Otherwise, you don't sit in that posture asana, and with full pranayama, probably he got into that meditative freeness. The structure itself, we don't have a picture of Patanjali, unfortunately. We have only artistic pictures. But if somebody wanted to put the meditation hall, I am sure that is why most of my Guru Swami Rama was a core person who always keep on talking about the Buddha. Without the Buddha, no lecture, no meditation, no classes went on. So I know my tradition is more Buddhist tradition than Patanjali tradition. So not of asanas, not even pranayama. It's only understanding the yoga. But what happened today, we are talking in terms of the International Yoga Festival, the yoga studios, perceived in being focused only on the body, and the meditation centers emphasize study of the mind. There the mind is forgotten. You don't have a mind at all. But here we study mind. So we focus on mind. The other one is get rid of the mind. These are all the two different aspects. No? So walk into the most, somebody mentioned, no, the most commercial yoga studios where it is being sold. I think Lama mentioned it, right? So we just sell it. The traditional Buddhist temple will have the difficulty in discern this relationship between the two. I am 100% sure, because it's not the practice of commercializing. This was never part of any temple or any Buddhist tradition. We have different yoga, maybe the Tibetan yoga, which talks about something Zen, different aspect. One probable, the Advaita Vedanta, somebody mentioned the Advaita Vedanta, in which the consciousness and the Purusha, the ultimate Purusha, the yoga philosophy talks about the foundations of ultimate goal of yoga is to get into that Purusha, the Atman. But probably Buddhist is not to reach into something, but it is to get rid of everything. So therefore you may find a conflict sometime. But it is not a conflict. Understanding that the universe Purusha is the Purusha, if that is a big fire, each one of us have the fire sparks out of that. Probably the spulingams of that, you know. If you consider that, it is liberation. It is not looking at one. One beautiful explanation of Kosha, different layers of the subtle body, which both yoga and Buddhism matches together. And we all believe that it all comes from the Panchabhutas. So what Yoga Sutra talks about this is exactly what Buddhism also talks about. So I am 100% able to understand the matching, and the differences came because of the misunderstanding probably if somebody has. The Hindu yoga and the Buddhist teachings, I think we should not use such words. I think there is nothing called a Hindu yoga and a Buddhist teaching or practices. It comes from the same root. Maybe the branches could be different. The flowers and leaf can be different. They all existed historically from the same field where it was nourished. The cultural background is same. But when the Zen Buddhism, those who learned through activities, more focused on the inner self, the ability to understand the mind's eye with the universal, essentially that is where Buddhism and Zen Buddhism would have been slightly different. Because you are looking at, visualizing something, breathing into something, understanding that. Therefore, sometimes you find Zen Buddhism is more closer to the Vedantic philosophy. So it all comes from, again, the Tibetan Buddhism or Zen Buddhism. Meditation remains same. The yogic practice remains same. The fluctuations of the mind, the process is to make you bind to that being, which, whether it is Atma or emptiness, I think that's all where it goes different. It was good listening to different aspect. I think this is what I understood, and I wanted to sum it up like this. When Ramana Maharshi also speaks about the Buddha and the self-realization. I think, I am not very sure, it is the Paravidyopanishad which is authored by Ramana Maharshi. Paravidya Upanishad. That is where the nirvana of Buddha and the self-realization which the yogis talk about, Ramana Maharshi made a beautiful commentary. If I couldn't refer it now, probably if I refer it, if somebody has to read that, probably I can give some references onto that. The moksha and nirvana are the same in that way. The cyclic life, the death and the rebirth, how you attain, and during the process of life, what is that we have to practice so that we can get moksha or mukti or nirvana. But Buddhist philosophy, exactly same, but it is not the next birth, it is the liberation from this bindness. So the endless cycle of birth and death, how are you looking at it? Is it connectedness or disconnectedness? I was so happy when Lalitama mentioned Bhagavad Gita. The whole concept of Bhagavad Gita is talking about this cyclic birth, so that you clean your action, the karma gets cleaned. And also Lalitama mentioned about Sat Chit Ananda, so that the triple consciousness, Sat Chit Ananda. Sat is existence, Chit is consciousness, Ananda is bliss. How do you get into that when you doesn't exist is a big question. So if you wanted to talk about Sat Chit Ananda, you cannot have emptiness. You should not separate you from the you who is looking at the Sat Chit Ananda. So you are meditating and looking at it. So that is where Ramana Maharshi clearly explains, who am I who is looking at me? Who am I without the time? Without me, how can I look at my Satchidananda? So theoretically when we talk about it, is entirely different from practically when we reach at Satchidananda. Because it's like we talking about death. When we talk about death, we are not there. But still we talk about death. That Satchidananda, if you can understand, you reach that as the God and the Brahman, realization to God becomes so simple. That is what is to be understood. I was so glad listening to all of you, and this is how I wanted to sum it up. Pranams to each one of you,
Exciting about
making me to
Pranams.
realize.
I'm very grateful that you listen very carefully. Thank you.
I'm glad Samini mentioned about Satchidananda, and T.P. Shashikumar also mentioned about Satchidananda. Actually, we are a spiritual being, like to reach to the Satchidananda state of absolute bliss. So I'll sing a bhajan. It's one of the popular bhajan from India. I have another person sitting here, one of our board trustees is going to play cymbal with me. Satchidananda Guru Satchidananda Satchidananda Guru Satchidananda Om Guru Jaya Guru Satchidananda. That was beautiful.
Just want to share the prayer of Buddhism. Buddham Sharanam Gacchami, Dharmam Sharanam Gacchami, Sangam Sharanam Gacchami. God bless.